Chapter 7, The Seeds of Doubt. Ifeoma began to notice strange things about Tond. For a cleaner, he had an unusual knowledge of software development and business operations. He'd offer astute observations on her projects that were far beyond what a typical maintenance worker would know. Once, when she was struggling with a complex algorithm, he casually suggested a solution that saved her days of work. She was stunned. She also noticed his hands. They were clean, with trimmed nails, and looked nothing like a man who spent his days scrubbing floors. They were the hands of a man who spent his days typing on a keyboard and signing documents, not scrubbing grout. She began to observe him more closely, noticing the small details that didn't fit his story. The way he carried himself, the way he spoke, his mannerisms, they all screamed of a man of privilege, not a humble cleaner. She started to feel a sense of unease. Could she have misjudged him? She had grown to trust him, to confide in him. But what if he wasn't who he said he was? A part of her wanted to believe his simple story, but another part of her, the logical part, was raising red flags. Her mind raced with possibilities, each one more far-fetched than the last. Was he a private investigator? Was he a secret shopper? She didn't know what to believe. She knew she had to talk to him, to get to the bottom of this mystery. She valued their friendship too much to let it be built on a lie. She was determined to find out the truth, no matter how difficult it was. She was not going to let this deception ruin the most important friendship she had ever had. Chapter 8, The Confrontation That Didn't Happen. Ifeoma decided to confront Tond. She waited for him after work one evening, a knot of nervousness tightening in her stomach. She saw him tidying the lobby, his back to her, and she took a deep breath. She had to know. She had to ask him directly. Who are you? What are you hiding? But before she could speak, he turned around, a strange, hesitant look on his face. Ifeoma, he began, his voice low and serious. There is something I need to tell you. I'm not who you think I am. Her heart leaped into her throat. This was it. He was going to confess. But then, a sudden interruption. Chike, Akin's best friend and CEO of Zenith Innovations, walked in. He had a look of shock on his face. Tond. What are you doing here? I thought you were off the clock, he said, his voice laced with suspicion. Akin quickly changed his posture, slumping back into his cleaner persona. I was just doing some extra work, sir, he said, his voice now a little more subservient. Chike looked from Akin to Ifeoma, his eyes narrowing. And what are you doing with Ifeoma? He asked, his tone now cold. We were just talking, sir, Ifeoma said, her voice now defensive. Chike gave them a sharp look before walking away. The moment was gone. Akin looked at Ifeoma, his face filled with regret. We'll talk later, he whispered, and then he was gone. Chapter 9, Akin's Desperate Move. Akin was rattled by the encounter with Chike. He had been so close to telling Ifeoma the truth, but Chike's presence had derailed his plan. He knew he had to act fast before Chike, or anyone else, could ruin everything. He decided to speed up his timeline. He would have his grand reveal sooner than he had planned. He would hold a company-wide gala in 2 weeks, not a month. He went to his event planner and told him to work on a faster timeline. The planner was confused but agreed. Akin knew he was being reckless, but he couldn't risk losing Ifeoma. He had to tell her the truth before someone else did. He wanted her to hear it from him, not from a jealous colleague or an opportunist. He also started to think about Chike's reaction. Chike had looked so suspicious. Was he onto his plan? Was he just surprised to see his CEO talking to a cleaner? He decided to call Chike and smooth things over. He invited him for a drink after work, hoping to gauge his reaction and calm any suspicions. He needed to make sure Chike was still in his corner. But the more he thought about it, the more uneasy he became. Chike had been his best friend since university. They had built a company together. Why did he look so territorial? Akim pushed the thought away. He had to focus on the grand reveal. He had to focus on Ifeoma. This was his chance to get it right, and he wasn't going to let anyone, not even his best friend, ruin it for him. That's all on today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to get notified for next episode.